the Corvette C7. In my opinion, the unparalleled bang for buck supercar, sports car, whatever you want to call it. It's definitely not a supercar, but it looks like one. So why am I making this video? Well, if Parker Nierenstein can make a video, 5 things he hates about a Ferrari 458 and a Ford GT, I think that even the last stick sports car that's not a 911 can have some faults with it. And here we go. These are the 5. Predictably, these are incredibly small faults because this is a pretty perfect car. If you get in, though, you'll see this right here. It is the trunk release. If I get in, I sit maybe a little too close to the seat for some of my height. But if I get in, maybe every 10 times I get in the car, my knee hits that. Opens the trunk, I have to go back out, close the trunk, and it's a little thing, but it's an issue. And again, told you, this was going to be incredibly picky, so if you're triggered now, you're not going to be changed at all. You're going to stay triggered. The second triggering problem with this car, apparently, this one actually is a pretty big deal. In the winter, most people who own these cars will not drive them in the winter, but in the winter, it's these. These are great tires. These are Pilot Super Sports. They are on the new tires for the Carrera GT, and these are run flats. They're great tires, and even though they're performance tires, with this car they ride great, stick great, just not in the winter, but that's not the problem. In the winter, if you make a U-turn, or if you pull out of a parking garage or a parking lot, whatever, the noise that comes from these tires is the most ridiculous thing you'll ever hear. The screeching sound, and I'll get it on video in a future video, is absolutely awful. It goes away once you've driven for like half an hour, but it's a little thing that just bothers you. And another issue with this car is not related to this one. This is a manual 7-speed C7. The only way this car is supposed to come. But the C7s were available after 2014 with an automatic 8-speed transmission. And that transmission had a lot of problems. Mainly, if it goes into 4-cylinder deactivation mode, you have a lot of problems with the block. And that's a big problem for people that put actual mileage on these cars, which a lot of vet owners do. So that's a third problem, although it doesn't relate to this. And again, you're going to be triggered. It doesn't even relate to this car. But it's a problem. It's something that has to be put out there. If you go on the forums, you'll see that it's a problem. The fourth little issue with this car is the C8. The C8 came out and really, really did this car dirty because the engine is right there. Yes, and it's a very similar engine, which we'll talk about later. But it's a very, very big difference. No, that car is not available to stick, so people like me would rather have this. And a lot of Corvette people would rather have this. But the C8 looks so good, drives so good, that there's a 19th month wait list on the car. 19 months from one of the biggest dealers at the Chevy Dude. Literally said 19-month wait list on the C8. It's that good. So that's an issue for this car. But it's not the biggest issue with this car. The biggest issue with this car is the transmission, which is a stupid thing to say because I love the transmission of this car. It's a little slow because it's an American, shift. Ford GT, if you've ever been in one, same thing. Very lazy, but I love it. It feels great. The clutch is perfectly weighted. All the pedal placement, everything's great on it. In first gear, particularly when the car is cold, you put it in first. If you don't do it perfectly right, it will pop out. That is embarrassing if you don't notice it's happening. And it's a problem. If you go on the forums, you will see this everywhere, especially from new owners. I've gotten used to it. It's happened to me probably once in the past month. The first few months with this car was a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Like, fully factually. It goes in. If you don't push it in, it pops out. So once every 6 times you drive the car, you're just stuck at a light for a few seconds, like, what just happened? It's frustrating, but again, it's not a deal breaker, as I think this transmission overall is a great transmission, and if you just put it in a little harder than you want to, it'll work. So those are the 5 complaints, and they're very minimal, and that's why I want to discuss the 5 great successes that this car has. Number 1 being that manual transmission, ironically. Great transmission. It's the last stick that's not a 911 on any of these kind of cars. Everything else is gone. Lambo, Ferrari, McLaren, gone. C8, gone. So that's a plus. Aston's still making an advantage, but if you consider the Vantage a sports car, you're crazy because it's a luxury car. It just is. It's a luxury car. It's a heavy car. The second thing is that engine. Yes, it's in the front. It's not on the C. It's not like the C8, but that engine is great. It doesn't rev that high. It revs to 6,500 is the red line, but it sounds amazing. It revs pretty fast. It's not lazy. It's not very lazy. Feels so good to run through the gears of this car thanks to that engine and that transmission. Now, the transmission's great, the engine's great, but also look at how this car looks. I mean, oh my god. it for the price that this car is, and that's another point, the bang for buck. That's point number 4. The bang for buck is incredible. Look at how this car looks. I mean, especially in shadow gray, this color is amazing. And this car is filthy, and it still looks as good. It's incredible. Also, the bang for buck. If you're talking 40 to 60 right now, or if you can get a really good deal, less, for not a high mileage car, it is the best bang for buck in this segment by far. I mean, any segment. Like, period. 0 to 60, slightly under 4 seconds. Like, come on, where are you getting that? The craziest thing is that all of this is in one package. The looks, the speed, and the most important thing to me, almost one of the most important things to me, the steering. The steering on this car is electric, which is not something that car guys normally want, but they figured it out. They're not BMW, they're not Mercedes, they figured it out. It feels very sporty, it feels like a supercar, and it feels just like it should be. The weight is very, very, not very heavy. It's very heavy compared to normal electric steering. It feels perfect. The only thing about the steering is it is a front engine car, so if you get to a really tight turn at the end of the turn, sometimes it gets a little less weighted than you want it to be. But it is absolutely amazing. For this price range, I kind of doubt anything would be as good. Maybe a Cayman would be, but you're not getting any of these looks, power, or any of this with the Cayman, or liability, or maintenance. The maintenance on this car is $90 a year. On a Cayman, you're spending a few thousand a year. Averaging it out when you start to have issues, which you won't with this. And if you do, you can extend the warranty, which is not going to cost the same as a Porsche extended warranty. Which is why this is, by far, the best car in the segment. And it punches above its pay grade. I'd rather have this than a 911, which is double the price. More than double the price. Even a used 911 is more money, and you'll be spending a lot more in maintenance. And the way this thing holds its value, you realize how good it is. Which is why this video seems stupid. But if you're looking into getting a C7, there are little things you might not like. The tires and the popping out of first gear are definitely the biggest things. I can't lie, they're annoying. But they're not deal breakers, not even close. An R11, a Cayman, any of these cars that you're looking at, a used R8, they're all going to have more problems than this will, and way more quirks. So if you're looking to buy one of these, why are you still looking? That's the question. That's it for this video, and stay tuned.